Canelo Alvarez is favored early against Sergio Kovalev.
Yeah.
Now, do you
Rightfully
agree? So. Who is you picking? Do you think is Canelo taking on a tough task, or do you think he sees something in Kovalev that he feels that Kovalev is the weakest link at the light heavyweight division?
The weakest link? I wouldn't necessarily say that. I think he has the top name recognition of anybody in the light heavyweight. I mean, Kovalev is known as the Crusher for a reason, and to me, I think he's a future Hall of Famer. I think he's getting to the tail end of his career at this point, but that doesn't diminish from the work that he's done. I think a lot of people, their perception of him changed when he got beat by Andre Ward twice, but
not just Andre Ward. You had Alvarez knock him out too.
Yeah. I thought that was a bit of an aberration. Aberration. I will say that Kovalev did come back and avenge that. I actually didn't think that he would be able to do it. I saw that fight and I pretty much thought the writing was on the wall for Kovalev. But in his subsequent bouts, he's proven that he still has some in the tank. He's not as dominant. I thought he was a top 3 or 4 pound for pound fighter in his heyday when he was knocking out Nathan Cleverly, John Pascal, Bernard Hopkins. I thought he was terrorizing.
Yeah, he was.
I thought Adonis Stevenson tried everything in his power to avoid that fight and was able to do that. Speaking of him, I'm still hoping that he has a quick recovery. He's dealing with some.
He got a court date coming up too, so he's gonna definitely need that money. But that being said, see, the thing is, obviously Canelo stated he wanted to be undisputed. Now, he had 3 of the belts. All he was missing was Andre belt, the WBO, I believe. But he chose to get stripped of his WBC title, and Charlo got the belt. And then, obviously, the IBF stripped him, too, because he had to fight Derevyanchenko. My point is he seemed like he's still avoiding Andre and Charlo and them guys that were champions at 154 when he was still fighting at 154. So the fact that he taking on Kovalev out of nowhere after, obviously, you've seen the Yard fight. Yard only had 18 pro fights against not the top level competitions that Kovalev, been fighting. He had 18 professional fights against kind of nobodies. And he had 12 amateur bouts. That's 30 bouts total. And he almost knocked out Kovalev in the 8th round. And in my opinion, if he had the right game plan going into the fight, like going to the body from round 1 instead of boxing with Kovalev, because I believe the early rounds were competitive, but he wasted a lot of energy boxing Kovalev. And that's his forte. I mean, Kovalev can't fight in the inside, but he could box. So he kind of burned his energy out trying to avoid the jab, and then that's what hurt him, because by the time he made it to the 8th round, he never been 12 rounds, especially not with a Kovalev.
Yeah.
And he had Kovalev hurt. So the fact that Yard with not much experience, he almost knocked out Kovalev. I see Canelo knocking out Kovalev to the body. I just don't see him having an easy time doing so. The only reason is because Kovalev, I seen the face off. That dude looked like a giant next to him. Kovalev looked like a little kid.
You thought Kovalev looked like a little kid?
No. I meant Canelo. Canelo looked like a little kid. Canelo, we know his advantages. Obviously, speed. He has great upper body movement. He's a very calculated fighter. He goes to the body well. But his disadvantages in this fight is obviously his slow feet and Sergio Kovalev reach and his jab. It's going to be a nightmare trying to get away from Kovalev's jab while he's moving away, especially early on. So I'm very interested to see Canelo Alvarez close the distance on Kovalev, because Kovalev is going to be very hard to get to, especially early on while he still have his feet. Now, if Canelo could take that away by going to the body and break him down for the later rounds, then obviously I could see the stoppage later, and that's my prediction. But early on is going to be a tough task. The only thing that he really has going for him is that Canelo has great upper body movement, and the fact that Kovalev doesn't hook. So he jabs you, but he don't hook you. So it's kind of predictable. His offense is very predictable. It's 1-2-1. You know, he kind of uses his body for the last jab. So it's a harder punch. It might be just a jab, but it feels like a power punch. So that being said, I think Canelo will struggle early. He might even get hurt, but I don't think he's going to get caught with a lot of power shots, just a lot of jabs. But once he get to the inside, I see him just dominating because he's a short, compact fighter, and Kovalev doesn't generate a lot of power when he's in the inside. He doesn't generate a lot of twerk. So, yeah, he's a very hard puncher. He's the crusher for a reason, but in the inside, he is not a crusher. So Canelo will be the crusher in the inside. And the fact that Kovalev just doesn't have any inside game will give Canelo the upper hand, in my opinion, since he's the fresher, younger fighter, and Kovalev is on his way out the door. And that's why I believe he's fought the weakest link at the 175-pound division, is because, you know, he's taking on a fighter on the way out. I mean, I see Kovalev, this is about to be almost his last fight, you know. So get your money and leave the sport while you still have your health. So what's your take on that? And what's your prediction? Who you picking and why?
So I'm going to go with the upset. I'm going to have Kovalev by a split decision. So I'm just, part of it just being the natural.
Oh, you got Kovalev by split? Hold on.
Yeah, Kovalev by split decision. So part of it is me being a natural contrarian. But so there's a couple of things I want to point out. So you've never really seen Kovalev get outboxed, right? So even with his first fight with Andre Ward, initially I didn't score the fight, but initially watching the fight, I thought Kovalev won. I just kind of just walked away. Even Andre Ward's body language. So and that speaks to Andre Ward's undefeated, kind of considered a genius boxer in the ring. But Kovalev lost a very hotly contested split decision to him, enough for that it warranted an immediate rematch. And then you talked about how Yarde, it was like his game plan should have been, you know, early on getting to the body and doing that, and that he wasn't doing that. I also think that Kovalev wasn't allowing him. Like Kovalev, when he is committed to it, has a piston-like jab. It is. I've seen him knock down people with his jab. I think he might even knock down Yarde with his jab. But he throws it like he
knocked him out with the jab.
Yeah, he throws it like a power punch.
Yeah.
And that to me is his best weapon. Everybody knows him for his right hand, but his right hand comes after he's hit it behind his jab. But when he's firing off on his jab and he's consistent with it, he's a very effective fighter and boxer, I think.
Yeah, he definitely sets you up. With the jab, and he blinds you and hide the right hand. Now with the Andre Ward fight, that's actually a great point that you pointed out. Not too many fighters kind of outbox Kovalev, but I would say this to Andre Ward's defense. You know, he did get knocked down early, but he got up. In my opinion, he won the third round right after. You know, but since HBO was so biased and they were promoting this Kovalev crusher, there was kind of everything Andre Ward did, they wouldn't talk about it. And then the scorecard, I mean, the guy that was scoring, RIP to him, I forgot his name, but the HBO, the person that scores, what's his name?
Letterman,
yeah, Letterman. Even in the rematch, he had Kovalev winning literally every round when Kovalev wasn't. So my point is, commentators kind of influence a lot of people or what they hear, and that kind of changed your opinion. But Andre Ward did win a lot of the later rounds, and Kovalev got gassed out past the fifth round, and that's where Andre Ward was able to pick it up and land a lot of body shots. And that's in the rematch. That's what he picked up on. Now I point that out because for Canelo Alvarez, that should be his blueprint. Like you said, it's hard to get to Kovalev early. The reason why is his footwork and his piston-like jab. But what you could do is just a lot of head movement, which Canelo Alvarez has, and you got to cut that distance. Now, Yard, in my opinion, came to box Kovalev early. I don't think he went inside and tried to fight him early on. I don't think that was the case, because when he did so, he kind of got in the inside and fought him for a little bit. And when Kovalev was like, oh, that's a no-no, I got to get out of here, he started boxing more. So I believe Canelo just need to have a game plan and stick to it the whole night. And in my opinion, throughout his experience, he's going to be able to do so. But like I said, it's a very dangerous fight because you're trying to cut the distance against a very powerful puncher. Even though Canelo Alvarez is a counter puncher, I don't think his being aggressive is his forte. I don't think that's his best attributes. I believe his best attributes is to sit down on counter punches, because I believe he's a boxer puncher. So Canelo is best when a fighter comes to him and fight him, and but when he has to actually cut the distance and follow an opponent around, I don't think that's his best attributes, because obviously Amir Khan was outboxing him. I mean, Amir Khan was dancing circles around him till he got to him in the 4th round. So he's going to have a hard time early. So I could see Kovalev actually winning the fight. You know, it's a good fight, you know. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I think Canelo is catching Kovalev at the right time, because obviously, I mean, he just took a lot of punishment his last fight. I don't even know if he recovered from that to go on and fight a next opponent this early, you know.
Yeah, it'll be a good fight. I'm going with the upset.
You know, we could put money on that though. You know, I got Viva Mexico.